Hello everybody and welcome to Ashton Talks Crypto, making sense of it all. And today we've got a fantastic guest on the show. We've got Funsho from We Coach Crypto. How are you doing, Funsho?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm really well, thank you very much. Just before we start the show, what I'd like to do is always ask a little bit about who you are and what you do, Funsho.
Okay, well, my name's Funsho and I've got a business called We Coach Crypto. I've been an investor in the cryptocurrency space for just over 5.5 years. Learned a great deal, obviously made mistakes along the way, and it's so important from my perspective to make sure that other people don't make those mistakes and sort of fast track their way through this. Yep. So we offer a number of different services to make sure that people can navigate this space. They understand long-term investment, they understand trading. And yeah, that's what I do and have been doing for quite some time now.
Fantastic. That sounds great. I mean, before people get to that point, I mean, it's crypto seems to be on the tip of the tongue of just like, you know, the general public now. It's kind of, as we know, it's almost 10 years or just over 10 years in. And we know that it's very exciting. But as you probably know yourself, there's a hell of a lot of people out there and investors as well that are still quite skeptical about crypto. And it probably is the fact that, you know, a lot of the way that people speak about crypto, it kind of just goes over the top of their heads, you know, and they seem to be frightened about what crypto is, and let alone when we start talking about blockchain. And at the moment, when I talk to the general public and especially investors, they're not even linking the two together. They think that blockchain and crypto are completely separate entities, you know. But it's, you know, what we're looking at from an investor point of view is, you know, we know that it's a great investment and it's something incredibly exciting, and it's still very early days. But talking to a newbie, should we say a newbie, how would you explain a little bit in your terms about what cryptocurrency is, for example, Bitcoin and blockchain? How would you explain that to somebody?
Okay, so in its simplest terms, Bitcoin is an innovative payment network that allows peer-to-peer transactions. So let's say I've got some Bitcoin and I want to send it to you. There's no need for a middleman. Okay, so ultimately the bank or the central point of authority has been removed from the situation, which is completely groundbreaking. It's never been done before, and it's taken the financial, you know, services industry in the whole world by storm. So Bitcoin is just electronic cash is the closest thing that I would say to it. But, you know, you have sovereignty that comes with that. There's a lot of responsibility because you need to be your own bank. But the technology that's behind it and the way that each transaction is recorded is unbelievable. It's groundbreaking. And that's where the blockchain technology comes into play, because every single cryptocurrency that's out there, well, the vast majority anyway, they require blockchain technology to exist. So the two come hand in hand. You know, you can't use Bitcoin without blockchain technology being a part of it. Mm-hmm. But as you've rightly said, when you're trying to explain how all of this works, because the inner mechanisms of it all is not easy to explain, because cryptography is in there. You know, you've got a digital ledger. There's, you know, you've got wallets, and then you've got private keys, and you've got public keys and wallet addresses, and there's so many things that come into play there. But if you're talking to someone in the simplest form, it's the fact that there's a fantastic opportunity for people from an investment standpoint to get involved in a new technology sector that's exciting, growing extremely quickly. And if you understand how to identify what a quality project looks like by doing your own research into it or working with people that understand it, you know, you can make a great deal of money. And one thing that I do want to make sure is made clear as well is you know, it's a very volatile marketplace. As much as you can make a great deal of money, if you don't know what you're doing, you can also lose a lot of money. Yes. But that's probably the simplest form that I could explain what Bitcoin is. In terms of how it works, that's when it starts becoming a little bit more tricky. But the best way that I can explain it from a blockchain sense is when you carry out a transaction, me sending Bitcoin to you, that transaction gets recorded and it's put onto the blockchain. And it's the simplest way to do that is it's a block that has a number of different transactions inside of it, that one block. And then that goes onto the blockchain for miners, which is where proof of work comes into play. And they actually solve complicated mathematical algorithms and equations in order for each one of those transactions to be confirmed. And there's a lot of different computers in the network that all have to confirm it. Now, once they've done that, okay, and that whole block is confirmed, that means that the transaction that you and I had sending Bitcoin to one another is completely confirmed, irrefutable, irreversible. The chain is just in between one block and the next block, hence a blockchain, and it just keeps going. But that's available for the public, for everyone to see every transaction. But where it's got the anonymous side of it is people can't see your name or my name. All they know is my wallet address, which again, they wouldn't know is my wallet. They just know a wallet address has sent X amount of Bitcoin to another wallet address. So the inner workings can get more complicated than that, but that's probably the best way I can simplify it.
That sounds, you know, perfect, a perfect explanation of how that works. And I think you're right. It's a little bit like, you know, if you're looking at buying the top of the range Mercedes because you love the way it sounds, you love the way that it looks. But do we really know what's underneath the bonnet? And do we really want to know what's underneath the bonnet? As long as it kind of drives well and you look good in it, that's the main thing. And something when we were talking a couple of weeks ago that you mentioned as well, I think to start getting the general public really kind of into Bitcoin is a bit of a double-edged sword for me, where we can see that the banks are starting to kind of get a little bit interested in this now. In fact, we just last week, I think it was, Sweden have now kind of created their e-krona. I know that Britain are looking at their Britcoin. When we look at the whole scenario of blockchain and cryptocurrency, it's supposed to be decentralized, so it kind of gives everything back to us. But wouldn't you say that by the banks kind of getting involved would start to make it more centralized again?
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And, you know, one thing that I love about this space is the community, and I love the fact that it's meant to be giving power back to the people, and, you know, long may that continue. But we've also got to be realistic here and look at the powers that are in this world. So, you know, sometimes if you can't beat them, you've kind of got to join them. And what we've got to look at ultimately is, you know, if you're looking at this as an investment tool, or you're looking at it to use for your business to do, you know, lightning fast cross-border transactions, or you're trying to send money overseas to friends and family, you know, it's perfect. It's a fantastic thing to get into. But we can't be clouded in thinking that, you know, the banks and, you know, the governments and the sort of global elite are not going to have their piece of the pie in this, and they're going to have an element of control. As much as we don't want them to, you know, they are going to. There's no getting away from that, because, you know, the people that write the laws are the people that are in charge, you know, and if they say you've got to pay tax on crypto, if they say we're swapping from fiat tangible cash to, you know, intangible Britcoin or USD coin or, you know, digital ruble, then people will fall in line because the majority do.
Yes, yeah, of course. And talking about then fiat currencies, I mean, there's talk at the moment of, you know, us becoming a completely digitalized currency world. Do you think that'll actually ever happen, or do you think that both will run tangibly together?
I think that they'll run tangibly together for quite some time, but I think eventually it will phase out. I mean, there are countries in Europe already that you can't deposit cash in the banks anymore. They're phasing this out. And I see there are huge benefits for it to be, a completely digital world. But there's also a lot of things that are not so great, unfortunately, in terms of the element of control. Again, if we go back to the governments and the banks, etc., if you and I were to carry out a transaction, if I said to you, I really like that microphone, I'll give you £500 for it, and I give you that in cash, there's no element of control for anybody else within that transaction. But the minute that becomes digital and it's recorded on, the blockchain or on a ledger of some kind, every single transaction is going to be recorded. And that's the only negative that I see. The positives massively weigh over because, from an investment standpoint, the space is great. The speed of transactions, it's banking the unbanked. You've got people in Africa that literally have to walk miles to get to the nearest bank, but they've got internet and they've got smartphones. And what cryptocurrency has done for them is allowed them to be able to, be their own bank and be able to carry out transactions and make money for themselves from an investment standpoint, without having to even leave their home or business anymore. And that is a fantastic thing.
Yes, yeah. Great. One of the things that really excites me, which I've kind of got into, and it makes perfect sense, again, kind of getting, for want of a better word, the old school into kind of thinking, well, this technology is amazing, are smart contracts. I think the smart contract thing is absolutely amazing for me. Like you were just saying, that kind of immediate thing that can happen by having a smart contract compared to the old way of kind of, going through that contractual procedure. How do you see smart contracts? How would you explain a smart contract transaction, any kind of transaction to, again, the general public, and how that works?
Okay, so in simple terms, in the simplest way that I can explain it to you is with a very popular cryptocurrency called ETHEREUM. Okay, so what Ethereum allows you to do is, as well as doing that transaction similar to Bitcoin, where I can send something peer-to-peer directly to you, what you can actually do with Ethereum is you can actually add documents to that transaction. So, that could be as simple as a Word document, a PDF, some text, images, whatever it may be. But the beauty about that is, again, someone else the other side of the world, you're able to conduct a transaction. People are doing this with real estate right now. So you can buy real estate using Bitcoin or Ethereum and some of the cryptocurrencies that are out there. And all of the paperwork that would be needed, and normally you would have to go over there, be there in person, sign all the documents. You can do all of that from your own home, buy a house in the other side of the world, send it as a smart contract. It's all there on the public blockchain, so people can see, and there's your transaction done in minutes. It's mind blowing.
It is. I saw well, it's not an idea. It's actually in fruition now with one of the with an airline company or a booking online travel company, whereby and we could see this through the pandemic as well, where flights would literally getting cancelled willy-nilly, and and a lot of the time as well, people turning up to the airport hoping to catch their flight, and it's either really delayed or or it's been cancelled completely, and then trying to get that money back off of the airline company, not mentioning any names, but that it's even prior to the pandemic, it was kind of difficult, and I think we've all been through that quite a lot of times. So what I like about the smart contract built within that is that when you book your flight ticket, that transaction is kept within the smart contract, which means that the airline company do not physically get their money. It's kept within that system. And of course, as long as the flight goes on time or it's not cancelled, then that money will get immediately transacted to the airline company. And if not, it will be immediately, whilst you're sitting in the airport, transacted back to you. if the flight is
Yeah,
delayed
it's
by,
amazing.
yeah, which, I mean, that for me, that kind of hits the nail on the head for how powerful, you know, the smart contract under this, under the platform goes. And I you know, that really, that for me, if we're looking at the generic kind of general public or investor out there, for me, I would say amazing, you know, well, I would
Oh,
definitely do that. I would definitely have that, you know. So, yeah, I like all of that. Where do you think that blockchain fitting in with general companies? And again, I've heard the for and against, and changing over to, well, why should we have a blockchain like Hyperledger or something like that? Why should we have that in the company? How much more secure is that compared to how they're doing their normal daily business?
Oh, it's a million miles apart. It really is. And it's mind-blowing to me that more people are not already using blockchain technology in their businesses, because number one, it's going to reduce costs for them. Number two, it's going to increase their transaction speed. It's going to lower their fees dramatically. But where I see it being amazing is it's being used in voting. Okay. So you imagine how corrupt a number of different votes have been going back in the years. It's unbelievable. Now, what this does is, if it's all on the blockchain and each person that's voting goes directly on the blockchain, there's no cheating the system. You can't cheat it. You'll actually see who the winner is.
Yes.
And you can see all of the information there. That's amazing. Then the police are using it as well to keep information on there for, you know, criminals and different things that have happened. And again, you know, let's be honest, the police, there's a lot of corruption that goes on there. So that's a massive help. Yeah. Then the medical industry, people, patients' information going onto the blockchain. There's been a lot of information that has been lost before by medical companies. There's information that's been hacked by hackers that have gone off and taken information and shared it elsewhere with other people. Then you've also got the automotive industry as well. Companies like BMW have already started implementing blockchain technology. It is literally disrupting every sector you can imagine. Agriculture, you know, so you can see from the moment a seed is planted to it's watered, to it's growing, to when it's packaged up and then ends up in the supermarket. So, you know, people that like organic and all that kind of thing, you can scan it with your phone and see the whole journey that it's been on before you end up taking a bite out of that apple. It's changing the world, literally.
It is. It's amazing, and that's great, because again, we generally kind of look at cryptocurrency at the moment as a method of investing into cryptocurrency, as you say, whether it goes, you know, drops or, you know, or goes higher, it's an investment. But when you look at the technology behind it and blockchain, then, as you say, there's so much more to it, you know. With regards to investment, though, we compare that. I mean, we know the answers to these questions, but for the people that are kind of thinking, well, you know, how's it going to go in the future? How is it going to stay volatile? Is it going to kind of is it going to stay fluctuating? We don't really know. But tell me and the viewers, how do you think that it's compared in the past, now and in the future, compared to the typical investments, traditional investments like commodities? Okay,
so the first thing that I would say is it's unheard of to see the percentage gains from an investment standpoint with cryptocurrency compared to anything else that has ever existed on the planet. Bitcoin is the #1 performing asset in history ever. It's risen 9 million% in a decade. Yeah. Okay. And the crazy thing about it is, in my opinion, I don't think it's anywhere near its actual true value. I think over the coming years, people are going to be shocked at what the price of Bitcoin will be. And it's not just because Bitcoin's a great investment, and it's not just because Bitcoin does what it does. It's actually because of a lot of other things that surround this. So when you start looking at the economy, you start looking at the pandemic, you start looking at the devaluing of fiat currencies like the pound and the dollar, and people's uncertainty in wanting to keep cash anymore. And you compare it to the gold market, the silver, precious metals, commodities, the stock market, it's tearing it to pieces. The comparison is just unreal. I mean, I did a video not so long ago about ISAs versus Bitcoin, just Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is just one of over 11,200 cryptocurrencies that are in existence. So, you can imagine the sort of growth that you see in some of these cryptocurrency projects. I've seen thousands of percent in a matter of a month or two in one individual project. It's mind-blowing, the opportunities that are here with this. It really is.
Yeah. I think it's, that the amount of cryptocurrencies that are out there. I mean, where the great thing about what you're doing, Funsho, is I suppose you're decluttering it for people. And kind of, and kind of, of course, talking to people about what their real needs are and, where they want to go with it. And having the coaching side of what you do is amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's great. And, I'm not a cryptocurrency expert, the same as you. I mean, we are an investment company at the end of the day. But there are more and more people that are talking about, what's this cryptocurrency about? What's Bitcoin? I've heard about this. Would you say, I mean, you answered the question earlier on that we're just starting kind of the journey, I suppose, and there's still a long way to go, because there's a lot of investors out there that are kind of feeling that they've already missed the boat. What would you say to that?
I would say that is completely incorrect. I mean, in my opinion, we are literally at the bottom of the growth curve. So obviously it starts off with innovation and then you start getting the adoption. But the level that we're at now, anyone that's watching, go out on the street and say, hey, have you heard of Bitcoin? And they're going to go, yeah, I have. That's that online money thing, isn't it? And then that's as far as most people have got that are not investors. So, we're talking about maybe 5% of the entire globe that actually own cryptocurrency. But then how much of that 5% actually understand what it is?
Okay, then. So with the amount of people that we'd hope to get involved and understand crypto and blockchain, and I suppose it being the normal thing. I saw a post come up on LinkedIn just a few days ago. I'm sure you saw it, and it was from the front pages of a newspaper back in 1997, which was talking about this internet. It's likely just to be a fad and will probably fade away. So when we look at the explosion of pretty much everything that we do now, on the internet is our lives and how it's progressed on to our phones and all these other gadgets and everything. That, for me, looking at where crypto is today, is probably the most exciting thing about it.
Definitely. I mean, it just shows you how early on we are. I mean, let's be honest. There are banks, hedge funds and companies and corporations running around scrambling, trying to implement this technology because they know it's the future of finance and it's disrupting everything. I mean, just to mention a few, PayPal, okay? This company is huge. They're one of the biggest financial service providers in the world. They offer Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies to their customers. Why are they doing that? Because it's revolutionizing the world, and it's also a great way for them to make more profits. We've seen that with a huge amount of hedge funds out there. Look at BlackRock are going to be doing it. Okay, you got MicroStrategy. A lot of people would have heard of Michael Saylor, CEO of MicroStrategy. He spent a fortune on Bitcoin. Why is he buying it? Because it's going to appreciate in value, and it's a fantastic asset to own, and it's a hedge against fiat currency. So, there's signs everywhere. 650 United States banks are about to offer Bitcoin to their customers, the normal guy walking down the street. And that's how you can tell how early this is, because you and I talking about it and saying, hey, crypto's great, Bitcoin's great. not financial advice, so to speak, but yeah, you should go and buy some. That's me saying that, you know. When HSBC or Barclays Bank or Lloyds TSB or whoever it is that you bank with send a letter through your door saying, hey, we now offer Bitcoin, that is a game changer.
Yes.
That is a huge, huge change, because ultimately, let's be honest, we trust the banks because we bank with them. We put our money there. So if they say, hey, do you want to buy some Bitcoin? That's going to change so many people's minds about the skepticism towards it, because it's like, well, hang on. If HSBC are offering it, if that company's offering it, if that company's offering it, this must be real. Yeah, I'll have some of that. And that's what the banks are trying to suppress as much as possible, so they can all get set up and so they get their slice of the pie.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's been great. It's been great having you on the show, Funsho, and a fantastic explanation about how it all works. Very, very exciting. If our viewers would like to know more about Funsho and We Coach Crypto, I'll stick a link in the description so you'll know exactly how to get in touch with them. Love to welcome you on the show again, Funsho, when we can kind of maybe get really deeper into all these different these different phenomenons which are cryptocurrency.
I'd love to, and thank you very much for having me on today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Well, that's been Ashton Talks Crypto here, making it all make sense for you, hopefully. Thanks very much, Funsho.